And a very good evening to you if you're joining us from Guyana, if you're joining us from the Eastern Caribbean or the Caribbean, the wider Caribbean. Welcome to Politics 101. You're joining us from North America, the United States of America, Canada. Welcome to Politics 101. Good evening to the people who are from Brooklyn. Good evening to you who are joining us from Maryland. And our friends there in Canada, Toronto, Ontario province, in particular if you are from Toronto. Welcome to Politics 101, our brothers and sisters who are joining us from Europe. Lots of you are coming to us from England, the old Great Britain, United Kingdom, whatever you call yourself. Welcome. Welcome to Politics 101. Good evening to our brothers and sisters who are coming to us from Paramaribo or wherever you are in Suriname, French Guyana. Big shout out to the brothers and sisters who are joining us from Antigua and Barbuda. Just had an election there. The Labour Party narrowly won. They went from 15 seats to just 9. They lost 6 seats. The popular vote was as close as you can get. And the Prime Minister Gaston Brown, was so confident that he would have increased from 15 to 17. He called the election long before its time. I know a lot of you there in Antigua, a lot of our Guyanese brothers and sisters are Labourites, and so congratulations to you. Those who voted for the UPP, congratulations also. Quite a close election. A good evening and welcome to Politics 101. We are going to be talking Guyana politics tonight. I have with me here Mr. Lincoln Lewis. Mr. Lincoln Lewis, we are going to look at labor and the budget. What's in the budget for workers? Is it enough? Is it satisfactory? Is this a worker's budget? What's in the budget for the workers of this country? That's the big debate. The government is spending a whole lot on infrastructure, a whole lot on this, a whole lot on that. The budget is almost $1 trillion. It's going to get there by next year. Some people are talking about a snap election. The PPP may call a snap election. I don't think so. Now, you never know in politics. But the PPP has 2 more budgets before the next election. 2024 and 2025. The budget has now become, in my estimation, a medium for channeling resources to those sectors or those sections of our country that the PPP likes the PPP. Welcome to Politics 101. Please do what you have to do. Share the link. Let everyone know. Let everyone know that you're on. We're on doing what we do. Providing a service to our people. Providing a service to the struggle. The debates on the budget are going on. in the National Assembly. there's divided opinion on what those debates should be used for. They're not debates. There's no concourse of ideas. There's no critical analysis. The opposition attempts to critique the budget. But the other side, the government side, drowns them out. It's not the kind of thing you want a student to look at. You all heard Mark Bishop last night. He was smoking here in Politics 101. Really dishing it out, extremely critical of the opposition. And some people felt he was hammering the opposition too much. And my view is that one does not have to agree with everything Mark said. But I think the thrust of what he was trying to get over to us is what is important. You see, if our agenda becomes the agenda of election, then all our gaze will be on 2025. And we are leaving the store open, unattended in 2023, 2024, and as we did in 2021 and 2022. You see, the PPP wants to tie us down on this election talk and to get us to look for election rather than to look after what is going on. I made the point, I think, this morning, and I'm making it again. I am not getting into the business of cussing the supporters of the opposition for not taking to the streets. I am not. They were ready to take to the street between March and August in 2020 to defend their vote. They were ready. And their leaders were not ready. Y'all remember? They were ready between March and August 2020 to put boots on the ground to defend their vote. The leaders thought otherwise. So if in 2023 they're not ready to put boots on the ground, don't curse them. Don't make them out to be non-humans. History is a great teacher. Our people are not robots that you can turn them on and turn them off. They were turned on in 2020, and we turned them off. The wonderful people of West Babis were turned on after the killing of the Henry brothers, and we turned them off. Today we are abusing them. They're taking blows and they're not doing nothing. And they can tolerate this. You all forget they were turned on in 2020. And they were turned on after the Henry boys were killed. And on both occasions, we turned them off. They're not robots. We have to inspire them. to be turned on again. You see, our error in 2020 was that we did not realize we were at a point where the politics and economics of Guyana would be going through a realignment. Realignment means that the current politics was going to undergo a fundamental shift. Some of us knew it. Some of us knew in 2020 that the convergence of global interests, domestic agendas, the convergence of global interests and domestic agendas would shift Guyanese politics and economics, as it did at the end of the 1980s when the Cold War ended, as it did at the turn of independence in the late 60s and early 70s. Often in any society, there are these moments of realignment. And if the politicians are not aware of the realignment, they get left behind. And what we have seen from 2020 to now is a realignment of Guyanese politics. And what we have is a unipolar power dynamic, not a bipolar power dynamic. One of the things in Guyana is both the PPP and its constituency and the PNC as its constituency serve as a check on each other. That is why we have never really gone off the cliff as a country. Every time the PPP goes too far, the PNC pulls them back. Every time the PNC goes too far, the PPP pulls them back. Balance of power. The balance of power shifted. The agencies that our side depended on, the police, the army, which we used as a balance of power on our side, they are no longer agents in the balance of power. They have been neutralized. The public service, which was an important plank on our side, they have been neutralized. The PPP has had control of the business sector. That has been empowered more in the last 3 years. So the areas of strength on the PPP side have been strengthened, and the areas of power on the other side have been weakened. I understand those who are blaming Norton, and I'm not getting into that. But such an analysis is a shallow analysis. If Norton were to do all the things we want him to do, the balance of power would not change. However, if Norton were to do more than he's doing now, it could influence some shift in the balance of power, or potential shift in the balance of power. It is much more complex, brothers and sisters. Our narrative has to change. Our supporters are taking blows. The working people, the poor people among our support base are taking more blows than the poor people of the support base of the other side. The argument is not about who poor. The argument is which section of the poor is taking the bulk of the beating. So every time we say Black people are suffering, and Indian people too, and Amerindian people too, I bend my head because it is the wrong narrative. How are you going to inspire your people to put boots on the ground when you're telling them, man, you all think bad with you all, but all strain, man, think bad with the other side. That's not how you inspire people to stand up for their own rights. You have to speak directly to their pain. I am not saying Indian people and Amerindian people are not feeling pain, but they're feeling the pain differently. Their homes are not being demolished. Their lands are not being taken away. Their boy children are not being killed. Their pittance is just 8%, considerably lower than the pittance of other groups. But yet our narrative doesn't reflect that. Our narrative is saying, all of we taking blows. Are you surprised then why some of our people saying, well, if all of we taking blows, I might as well go and take these people a little thing? All right, share the link. We're on tonight. We're on tonight to talk about what's in the budget for our supporters. What's in the budget for public servants? What's in the budget for teachers? What's in the budget for nurses? What's in the budget for our supporters? Brother Lincoln, good evening.
Good evening, David. Good evening, comrades and friends.
You heard me, and you know that when I overtalk, you will tell me that I overtalk. When I wrong talk, you will tell me I wrong talk.
Very much so.
In my introduction of I wrong talked.
Yeah, David.
Yes, have I wrong talked, Mr. Lincoln?
Not so. You were on the ball. You were on the ball.
So here we have this budget 2023. 7
Well, I'll tell you.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you something, David. When you talk about the some, you know, I live near to the road. Everybody making noise on this road here. Let me just tell them cut off the music. They think hula.
Yeah. Brother Lincoln Lewis there. So sisters and brothers, you know, we have to be honest. Our leaders must be honest with their followers. And I'm being honest with you all. I'm being honest with you all. All right? And that's what we want to do. This problem we are facing is an institutional problem. It's a structural problem. This problem is not a narrow little problem. Guyana has changed in the last 3 years. If anybody told you in 2020 that the budget in 2023 would be close to $1 trillion, would you believe it? Well, believe it. And when a government is spending that amount of money, don't poo-poo it. It's a lot of money. Where is the money going? Is the money where but a transformative budget? Budget can be transformative. Budget can be a means to transformation. The transformation is in the eating, not in the numbers. The transformation is in whether the numbers lead to a qualitative change in the socio-economic circumstances of the country. And what do you mean by country? The country's buildings or the country's people? These are the philosophical questions that we have to grapple with. Brother Lincoln.
Yes, David. David, I will wait. I'm glad that you invite me to this program. But I'll tell you what, something struck me as you were introducing the subject this evening, when you spoke of the polar world. I believe that it has come a time that we will definitely have to spend some time, if not tonight, some other time, and discuss it, because I believe that a number of persons who have approached the politics in this country, they are operating as if Guyana is an island, and has not taken on board the dynamics that are taking place in places like Britain, United States. When you look at how the Conservative Party in United States, in Britain, how they have changed leaders. And when you look at how Trump and his boys in the United States, how the question of universal principles don't mean anything to them any longer. You know, these are issues that impact on what is taking place here. It is no longer a situation where the masses' interest is being looked after. The government now has the private sector as its partner. And if you check the constitution of this country, the constitution speaks to two other groups, the cooperatives and trade unions. They are the two other groups that are mentioned in the constitution. But neither group the government is prepared to respect or to give any play or any participation in the determination of the interests in this nation. I believe that taking into consideration those type of things, we need to set a time that we can sit to discuss that. And one of the areas we need to also look at is what has been revealed in the labor files in Britain, how they have undermined the British Labour Party, what they have done to John Corbyn, and those type of things. We need to look at it, and the shift that took place, that has taken place since Corbyn has been removed as leader. The party has moved from center left right on, gone into where we talk into the right, and moving, and to a large extent not center right, it has been going to extreme right. So all these type of things impact what is taking place here in Guyana, and I'm glad that you have raised them. And the time has come that we definitely have to look at those type of things, that dynamic, and to get a clear understanding where we are and how we move forward. Well, let me say to you, David, the national budget is not about the numbers. It's that it has not there's nothing there that reached to the worker, that reached to the small man. Let me start by making some points on it. We have never had this money that we are talking about. But our government is saying that even when we've got, they're saying, look here, they have an ad that they're pushing around. They said this country is going to be moving. The development is going to the direction where it will compete to countries where there'll be free education, there'll be proper health services, and a number of other things. But the people are asking, the citizens of this country are asking for some things. One is that citizens saying, look, we want direct cash transfer to households. The minimum that we get it also. And this has been support. This is a support based on what Professor Clive Thomas has said. And Thomas is no mushkunku economist. I'll tell you what, I have gone to conferences in every continent in this country. I have gone to labor conferences in the most progressive countries. And as I listened to them, labor conferences which were embraced by the ILO and so on. And I remember a few times going to conferences. They have had professors from nearly all over the world. Japan, Australia, what have you. Professor Thomas was not there. But every man who made a presentation at these labor conferences, all of them quoted Professor Thomas. He's no fly-by-night labor economist. He's one who was stand the test of time. Thomas has said that you can give to the people based on his analysis, which I don't doubt. You can give to each of them, each person, $1 million each household, $1 million as direct transfer. You know what this government is saying? This government is saying here something. This money belongs to all you people, the citizens. But we saying that we ain't giving you no cash transfer. We're going to determine how it's being spent. It is not the will of the people any longer. It is what they think, what they believe they must do. They believe that this money is a personal property and we are their subjects. People have to begin to demand what is justly theirs. What they're saying, look, we are going to determine who can get cash transfer. And what has been happening over the months, what they've been giving cash transfer indirectly to some people who they consider to be their support base, or some people who they believe they can buy a vote from them. We cannot allow such a situation to change, to continue. We have to demand a change, and that is necessary. That is necessary. The budget has not made provision for cash transfer, and we need to demand it at all costs. I know the opposition is in there. I want to tell you something. I've been looking at the opposition debate or presentations since they have entered Parliament. This is the third budget, and I'm going to tell you something. I believe that they have improved tremendously. I'm impressed about their arguments. They're doing a good job. Unlike the government, you see, the government goes about it, say here's something. We get the votes. You can talk till the cows come home, right? We had time to come, we're going to vote and we're going to pass the budget. We don't expect that, you understand me? They're saying to you, here, we ain't going to change anything. You talk what you want to talk, and we're going to think. I'll tell you something, I've listened to Minister Todd, who is foreign affairs. I see no policy in his arguments. I don't see, I wasn't impressed. He's telling you about all the things that happening in the region 10. I was expecting the minister, right, to come out and, stand and tell me about where this country is going in foreign policy and where the direction and who and the type of engagement with international institutions and these type of things, where we are going and how it will benefit us, So what I'm really saying is that, look, boy, we gone down. We gone down when a minister meet to that level. Let me tell you the other one. The other thing is that The government said, you know, we are going to reduce the taxes for business and so forth. And we don't have a problem. Yes, you're going to reduce the taxes. Well, let me tell you something. Before, there are a number of things that are being given tax-free to the business community. A number of things that are given tax-free. A number of things they have reduced tax on before. You know, man. We get all this money. We want to see that you remove PAYE, pay as you earn on the workers down there. Don't tell me you're going to reduce it. We want you to remove it. Remove that and remove this thing on where you get on the VAT that you get on some items. Remove them things. Do something that can improve the purchasing power of the worker, the ordinary worker. We have to look at that, and we call on them to do it. Let me give you something. The budget has not addressed a number of things. This whole issue about unemployment. The National Insurance Scheme was established in 1969. And since then, it makes provision. It makes provision for unemployment benefit. But what has not been put in place is the bylaws to see how it will be done. There are people now, because of you're pushing an industry that is you're pushing a economy, and you're talking about construction. Construction work is seasonal. When a man works for 9 months at a place and he get thrown off that 9 months, you got to look for another job. If you put unemployment in place during the hiatus between one job to the other, the man can get something to keep he and his family going. Without that, the man can right down back into poverty, into where he was before he got the first job. These are type of things that we were expecting, that if you care and you understand development, the government would look at that and address such a situation. Let me talk about the NIS. Let me continue talking about the NIS. We have to make sure that that scheme becomes viable. Take some money. Over the years, what the government did, when the actuarial studies were made over the years, the 26 years of the 24 years, 23 years of the PVP, 23 years of the PVP. They have had, every time the actuarial study was done, they, together with the private sector, has decided that they will not have increases. Nearly 90% of the time, they will not have increases in contribution towards the scheme. So what has happened with the scheme has been running in a deficit all the years. Having that deficit, what it has created is a situation where the pensions in NIS cannot be increased, right? People are living, pensioners are getting something far less than what they would have received ordinarily. We have this money now. What we should be doing is pour some of that money into the NIS to make it viable, that it can pay a decent pension to the workers, to the pensioners, or a man who gets sick or get meet with an accident, what he can receive during that time. These are important areas that they are losing sight of. Rather than sitting down and trying to find out what they're doing right now is trying to find out how many more of their supporters they can get into the NIS to say that they are to say that what they are doing. They are in a process of ethnic balancing, right, in the NIS, rather than looking at how we can make this institution viable, that we can get people can get something.
Lincoln Lewis here, raising very important observations. The whole question of the NIS, a very important subject for workers. The whole question of real cash transfers. You see, it's your philosophical outlook, your worldview, as Brother Lincoln is trying to say. That if you think that the engine of growth is the private sector, that in itself is not the end. You have to balance the workers' interests with the interests of the private sector. Nobody is saying you should not invest in the private sector. But you don't have control over where the private sector takes its money. And so therefore you have to balance that with investing in workers. Investing in workers. Do you believe that labor is what generates wealth? Or do you believe it's capital? These are philosophical questions that influence economic policy. And it is clear where the interest of the PPP is. It's in the private sector. But this is Guyana. What is the color of the private sector? We live in a racialized society. It's not me, say so. That is the reality. What is the color of the private sector? What is the color of the labor that is working for government? And so, what are the outcomes of your policy? Good evening. Welcome to Politics 101. I see Mr. Thomas Robertson on this evening. I met him this past weekend. I went into a private family gathering, and this person called my name, and as it turned out, he was there with his family. And you know, we spent some time chatting, a little time chatting, and he is there in Georgia. And I said, I think this morning, that you know, the little human interaction matters. But when you meet our people in their natural habitat, a little party, a little gathering, they're not at a political rally, and you engage with them, you get a chance to have what we call a heart-to-heart talk, a human talk. And there was this family being there to have a good family time, but enough time to acknowledge what we do here. They found time to acknowledge what we do here. And that matters tremendously to me. Brother Cornel West said, oh, we Black people, given our experience of slavery, our experience of death, social death, natural death, our concern, our preoccupation with what it is to be human being, what it is to be a human being is always primary. What it is to be a human being, to recognize the human element in what we do. Where is the human element in politics? We don't see squatters. We see human beings whose homes, whose aspirations are demolished. what it is to be human. And so, as I spent a little time with the brother and his family, and it reminds me that there's a human element to what we do. I wasn't speaking to a voter. When I spoke to Mr. Robertson, I was speaking to a human being. A human being who appreciates what other human beings are doing to keep our struggle for the promise of emancipation. The promise of emancipation. We are still to achieve the full promise of emancipation. And so I want to thank Mr. Robertson and his family for the love that they showed me. Sometimes a political activist is lonely. Sometimes your own family, your own friends are afraid to talk to you, to ground with you, because you're involved in politics. It can be lonely. And so the love from all people is important. Thank you, Mr. Robertson. Thank you and your family for the outpouring of love. And I take that love and I bring it here. I shared it with my brothers on the other programs. Thank you. At the end of the day, it is what it is to be human. So we are talking about this budget. And we are talking about the budget in human terms. Human terms. Our brother Lincoln is walking us through this budget, lifting the veil of that budget speech and those numbers, and asking, where is the humanity in that budget? A budget is not development. Development can flow from a budget, but underdevelopment could also flow from a budget. A budget is not transformation, but transformation could ensue from a budget. But the de-transformation or the stifling of transformation also could ensue from a budget. What is it in there for the human being? What is it in that budget for the woman who must leave her home at 8 o'clock in the night to go do grave digging until 6 in the morning? What is it in that budget for her? What is it in the budget for that female clerk who works in a government office, who must dress appropriately, who has to walk with lunch to work, who must smell nice, just to buy perfume and so on, who cannot go with a flip-flop to work? What is it in that budget to help that clerk reproduce our labor power? Labor power. Sisters and brothers, I'm saying we have to look at our condition in Guyana in holistic terms. You go home to Guyana and you see a big house where there was a little house, and you say, Guyana nice, Guyana transform, Guyana develop. What nonsense are you talking? Brother Dick Gregory said, what Guyana kind of fool you is to believe a big house is developing? What kind of fool you is to believe that because you went to the Marriott for lunch, that is developing? Do you know how many Guyanese have never set foot in the Marriott? And now the government is about to sell the Marriott. If the Marriott is profitable, why not hold on to it and take the profit from the Marriott and give it to the workers? You're selling the Marriott to your friends so that they can get rich off the profit. What kind of fool is you to do that? And what kind of fool is you to believe that that is developing? We ain't stopping. We ain't stopping. They don't want us to talk about certain things. But you sometimes tell us we should not talk because we talk too much. What kind of fool is you? Wake up. Wake up. Assert your humanity. Jamaicans say me mouth of me. Guyanese say me mouth na left in me mama belly. The right to speech, the right to free speech has been earned by the blood of our people. And you are worrying with people to tell you, don't talk. What kind of fool is you? Speak we must, but we must speak with the voice of the people. And our speech must be pregnant with action. But action doesn't come as magic. Action comes with your ability to match your rhetoric with the thought of your people. Convergence of thought. With the plight of your people. Welcome to Politics 101. Good evening. I see Teacher Yvette is on. My sister, Teacher Yvette from Buxton, one of our premier activists. She gave me a charge. She's not usually a radical person. But I met her at the funeral and she and the sisters gave me a radical message. One sister said that she heard me say, God forbid them going to Buxton to demolish houses. She said, David, I hear you. I hear you. God forbid them to march into Buxton and try to demolish houses. This is not a threat. It is not a threat. It is an affirmation of people's right to fight back against bulldozers, whether they are physical bulldozers or they are political bulldozers. Brother Lincoln?
I'm here. I see you're saying yourself, Yvette in the house. She give me a tongue lashing. She give me a tongue lashing. Was your hour on Sunday night.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
guess what you have
yeah.
had. I didn't see, she wasn't in front of me when she telling me these things. And if they were so lethal, I guess in front of you what you get.
Yeah, I am saying, Brother Lincoln, I know sometimes in our frustration, we believe that there is no fight in our people. I beg to differ. You can only know whether there's fight in your people when you're a fighter. What
Yeah.
Yvette will tell me and you, because we are fighters, she won't tell others who she don't think are fighters.
I understand.
Only fighters can know where fight is. And I
Yeah.
know there is fight in our people. I know. Martin Carter said, inexorably and inevitably, I will come. If I do not live to see that day, my son will see it. If my son does not see it, his son will see it. It will come circling this world like fire. It will come to this land and to every land. And when it comes, I shall come alive again and laugh again and pregnant
Yeah.
optimism of our people. You, Lincoln Lewis, and I, when we were little boys, nobody could have told us that in the year 2023, we would be on a forum, you and I, sons of the bottom, talking to our people. We sometimes engage in too much blasé sophistication. Nothing is happening.
I believe, I believe, David, there are times that I say, in our community, we get too many bright people. We don't understand to do what ought to be done. That is the problem.
So what's in the budget? You talk about the NIS that you felt that you should have spent on, and you're all going to struggle for that. You talk about the cash grants. What else? What else is wrong with that?
The other thing is that we have the Constitution, which speaks about free education, 27 of the Constitution. You can't talk about democracy when you are honoring my constitutional rights in breach. The issue of free education from nursery to university, we're expecting that would have been an issue that would have been funded, reintroduced now, because they took it away. In 1993, they took it away. So we must bring it back now and have it done. Free education, the question of health, these health services. If I live in the Buxton Falls, NDC, and if somebody take ill during the night in this neighborhood, that person has to find Georgetown or find the Myconi Hospital. There's the way you call the clinics. None of them open at this time. Even the C.C. Nicholson Hospital at the backlist there, that don't work for 24 hours. You can't go there and see a doctor after certain hours. I'm saying that health was one of the areas we thought these guys would have been, they would have been wise enough to address. These are issues that are important to us. We cannot sit any longer and we in this country, let me tell you something. Things like dialysis, ultrasound, these are things that are necessary. You have to pay for them. With all this money, people have to spend money to go and do ultrasound and all these things, man. We thought something would have been, and it don't take you a year to get a proper ultrasound unit. We have the money, dialysis unit. We got everything is. You gotta go to private hospital. Their friends are at the hospital. One at West Dem, one in Southern Georgetown, right? One on the quarantine at the same time they're constructing them, right? which gives one the heads up that they are waiting when those hospitals are thinking for us to continue paying there, or they will pay the bill and give their money to their friends. But the service is something that we need. We need optimum services, to keep our people going, right? These are issues that are of importance. The issue of collective bargaining. These people believe that they shouldn't talk with the public sector unions, right? We have to stop it. We have to fight back for some things. Those are issues that we must fight for. We must demand that we get what you call the cash transfer now. We must demand that it be done in 2023. Notwithstanding they're going to go in the and vote for a budget. Everybody must get. Every household must get. And any event there's a disaster, then and people need to be bailed out, you bail them out then. But you can't say that I am not entitled, but your friends and your family, they are entitled. Your supporters are entitled. We are not entitled. Some people are not entitled, which include me. Because I'll tell you something, let me tell you something, let me make this point. Of all the way you call it, all the transfers I make, even COVID, they passed my house. Everybody know where I live in. They passed my house. And they went to the houses in other parts of the street.
Yes.
And they gave the COVID money. Right? I was inside the house. And when I came out, I was subsequently told that they passed, And they must have known where I'm living. Everybody knew. If I walk from Golden Grove to Buxton, I'm sure people, not one person, a number of persons will know me. Okay? So that's the problem that we have.
Yeah, Lincoln, look, so we have diagnosed what the problem is. And we have said that this issue is not a tomorrow problem. It wasn't a yesterday problem. We are dealing with a Guyana that has shifted, that the whole architecture of our politics and economics have changed in front of our eyes, and perhaps because of that, we don't realize the astronomical change that is taking place. And we are now confronting a government armed with bulldozers, armed with guns, armed with all kinds of implements of force and violence. But we have to fight back. And you and I have been in this struggle long enough to remember there was a time when labor and political parties and what we now call civil society came together under one banner to create an anti-dictatorial front, to struggle not just for the material needs of our people and the spiritual needs for their souls. I'm paraphrasing Martin Luther King here. Not just the material things for their bodies and the spiritual things for their souls, but to fight to ensure a future for all of us. And be back to that time when this pushing back against this government, getting this government out of our faces, because ultimately we got to do that. This is about power. We have got to get back to the bipolar arrangement where one party, even with government power, must know its place. Are we back to that time when we need the broadest possible front, the broadest possible coalition of forces to break down the demolition government and replace it with a government armed with the righteousness of our people? Are we back there, Lincoln Lewis?
Let me tell you this. Even there are times people may tell you that we have had dictatorship in this country. I want to tell you something. What I have seen with the breaking down of people's homes and businesses and so on, what I've seen this government doing, I've never experienced it in my lifetime. When the state has turned against the people, what manner of men and women are we treating with? We need to ask ourselves who we're treating with. Never see this. Using state power, privileged position to turn against the people. The time has come that we have to rethink our position. I don't know what you're going to call it, but I believe that leaders have to look down the road. Look today, tomorrow, and every day, and look further down the road. Let me tell you what. We can't allow what happened at Moko to continue to happen. We have to fight day and night, tooth and nail. We gotta fight. And we gotta call on the forces to fight. Let me make it very clear that the PPP, I've said it to people in 2021. I said to them, the PPP will not yield 1 inch. They will go to the National Assembly. They will read whatever they want to read, bill or whatever. The opposition can raise whatever constructive argument they have. They will not give 1 inch. They will vote and pass it. That is the PPP. All the years we see these people behave in a certain way. And it is because of that behavior a number of persons in 2020 was going down the line to make sure that they remain in the opposition. Let me tell you something. They will never give anything. We got to fight for something. And we got to cause them to relent. Today, these guys have to be, we have to understand that when they give you $1, they will give their supporter $20. They will give the people who they feel are not supporters of their party, they will give them a house lot. But they will give their supporters 20 acres of land with a 50-year or a 100-year lease. But the man who is not a supporter, they will give him a house lot, and he believes that he gets so much. And wherever a man who may look like me, who may say that he's supporting them, he will give them a 25-acre, but they will give him a 50-year lease. They won't give them a 199-year lease. And that man believes that.
Lincoln, we are fighting. We got to fight. We got to fight.
Yeah. Let me tell you something, David. Just
I was asking you to zero in on methods of fighting. And
Let me tell you something.
we have to bring all our forces together in a common fight.
Let me make this point, David.
Yeah.
Let me make this point. Look, the PPP can be, the PPP, we have to look that you will not get anything in opposition. You have to fight for government. And fighting for government, that means that you have to fight to win an election. That's the process. And you got to bring all forces on board. Even if you have to sleep with the devil to get them out. People have to understand that what they're getting now is trinkets. You can get something better if you fight for government. And we have to start that process now of fighting for government. And we got to hold hands, and we got to bring the forces on board to do so. No one group must believe that they have all that it takes to win this to win an election, to win this election. The PPP may have plenty of money, but there are other methods you can use to get this thing done. Bring the people together, and you have to work. And the work must start now. Don't wait for when somebody the election has been prorogued in Parliament. Start the work now. Election will be won before the election is being called, the date is being announced. You got to work for it. The current, like the major party in the opposition, like the PNC, for instance. The PNC came to power in 1964. After there were a number of smaller parties joined with Forbes Burnham and went to election. And when they were finished, they joined with Peter de Geer and a coalition, and they got the government. In 2015, it took a number of small parties together with the PNC, and they formed the APNU. And APNU and AFC joined together, and they won the government. I'm saying to you, I don't know. It has been shown that you can win the election with bringing all the progressive and non-progressive forces together. And let me fight. The Democrats, for instance, in the United States, it's Big Ten politics. The Democrats get labor, they get gays and what have you. They get the Hispanics, they get the African organizations, and so forth. You get some Jewish organization, some lawyers, and so on. What they do is to all come together to fight the Republican Party. We have to look for that. We got to go back to it. The ABC in this politics has to be embraced. We can't do different.
Urging us to embrace the politics of coalition again, because we have seen that we're up against a government that has no shame, that intends to occupy, as Lewis says, every inch of political space. And when you're fighting against such government, you have to fight with all your might. You have to fight with all of your muscles, wherever they are. And so, therefore, one way of confronting this government is to show our strength through our collective force. Thank you very much, Lincoln. You've gone over time. I've got to go. But we are going to, of course, keep in touch and develop this conversation in a subsequent program. Thank you very much, my brother, and stay safe. And Arlene, Rodney, thank you very much, because I think you're part of what we try to. At some point, one has to be able to bring to bear in one's thought and action the feelings of one people. I know what it is to live in a home where your mother is a maid and to see her cry, literally cry and figuratively cry, because she has to go to work and call other people master and mistress. And when they ring a bell, she has to serve them food. And then she has to clean up after them and she comes home. She comes home. And in the privacy of our home, she curses them. I've seen that. And I made a vow since I was a boy that I will not be a servant. But more than that, that servitude should not be the lot of people who look like me. You cannot lead people if you don't feel their pain. You can't fake that pain. It's either there or it's not there. And you must go back to your people. Go back to them constantly to enrich. To enrich your soul and your mind. Because after all, we take people's experiences and turn it into inspiration and give it back to them. I'm quoting a UC Guyana here as political nourishment. It is in times like these when people are crying, they're wailing, they're bawling, that we must hear them. But you can only hear them if you are at one with them. To speak with the voice of the people, to think with the mind of the people, and to march in the ranks of the people. Always, always, always. See you all tomorrow night, where we continue the push for the fight. Fight back, fight back, fight back, fight back. There are times when Goliath has to be confronted with the Davids of the world. We're at that point. Fight back, my people. Fight back. But the fight must not be a stupid fight. The fight must be a fight informed with righteous indignation. And that's what I make no apologies. Call me an insider. Call me whatever you call me. I am inspiring my people to righteous indignation so that they can stand up and live out their humanity as they watch you and aim the arrows of their minds at you. Nowhere has the devil triumphed. Nowhere. And it shall not triumph in our Guyana. We've got work to do. We've got more work to do. We've got more work to do. I am with you. I am with you. And together, we're going to do this thing. We're going to do this thing.